Please welcome Dave Keystone!
Thank you in advance for listening to this story. It's early summer 2019, and I'm going for a walk through Mount Pleasant Cemetery. It's calm, it's quiet, room temperature out. And I'm nervous, and I'm scared, and I'm sad, and I'm like walking on eggshells, and I'm feeling so uncomfortable. My dad, Dr. J. Keystone, is like a world-renowned doctor, overachiever in every way in medicine. He's a tropical disease doctor for travel medicine. He's always on the news, and he's got every accolade in medicine and teaching. He's a recipient of the Order of Canada, larger than life, successful in family, had 5 kids, a fairly long loving marriage with my mother. They got divorced. He had a second marriage that was like a beautiful thing. And he's just like a larger-than-life guy, known for his sense of humor, the kind of guy that, like, when I introduce him to a friend of mine and I say, like, hey, this is whoever, he'd be like, oh, it's really nice to meet you. Listen, like I say, any friend of David's is a friend of David's. It's like his big dad joke. My dad has been suffering for about a year with colon cancer, and we don't know how much longer he has to live. And so I asked him if he'd be willing to bring me to Mount Pleasant Cemetery so I can see his grave, because I don't want his funeral to be the first time that I see it. And so I'm walking through Mount Pleasant Cemetery with my dad. And I'm like leading up to it, and when we were there, I was just thinking about, like, I just want to like have all these life conversations with him and glean everything from him I can, and father-son conversations, and I'm scared and I'm nervous, and I don't want to lose him, and I don't feel like an adult yet and live without my father, and I want to tell him this stuff, so I'm like walking on eggshells through the cemetery with him, and I start to come clean about this stuff, and I'm telling him this stuff, and I'm like scared. I was so scared to say, I'm scared to lose you. But I did, and I told him all this stuff. Meaning of life, you know what? Like, I just, and he said, you know, I'm listening to you, and I hear you. He said, but like, really, there's no big secret. Just contribute to the world in a meaningful way, treat people nicely, be kind. And then he walks like 20 seconds silently, and he goes, and ultimately, just don't be an asshole. There was a work trip that was coming up that I was supposed to go on, and I didn't want to go, and I was nervous to go because, like, what happens if he dies while I'm away? I don't want to go. And I told him this. I said, I don't want to go. And he said, you can't stop living your life, right? You just like have to keep going. You can't stop living your life. And I said, but like, I don't want to go because, like, what if something happens to you while I'm away? And he said, like, so what? I said, like, what do you mean? Like, if you die, I want to be there to say goodbye. And he said, if you haven't said goodbye yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. He said, I love you. You love me. We know this. Isn't that like all that really matters? When he got sick, he said, I'm going to try the couple chemotherapies available to me, intravenous and oral, and if they don't work out, I'm going to stop. I care about quality of life over quantity. He was 76 years old, and he said, I ain't going out, going to the hospital every week and just being that guy, so if it doesn't work out, I'm going to stop. Earlier in the year, our rabbi, like our synagogue, put on some talk that was the Jewish response to medical assistance in dying. It's called MAID. It's a legal procedure in Canada. It's euthanasia, assisted suicide, whatever you want to call it. It's referred to as MAID, medical assistance in dying. And it was the Jewish response. So there was a rabbi. It's like the beginning of a joke. There's a rabbi, a doctor, and a lawyer talking about medical assistance in dying. And we went, a couple of my siblings and I and my parents went to this talk, not because of my dad. It just like coincidentally happened, and we were interested to learn about MAID. And so we went to it. And so we knew about it. My dad's health deteriorated to a point that he elected to do medical assistance in dying. Fast forward to September 3rd, 2019. Today's the day. I'm invited by his personal support worker to come help prepare him for the day. He's living at my aunt's house in an upstairs bedroom because it was the best place for him where he could have good care. He was frail, he couldn't walk anymore, he had tubes coming out of his body, draining into all these different bags, all these different tubes. And I show up on that day and I wear a white button-down shirt and a bow tie. I'm his maitre d', I'm gonna prepare him for this day. And with the PSW, we clean his body and we change him and I brush his teeth and I warm some warm towels in a bassinet and I shave him. I give him a shave. We put on a blue button-down shirt. We put on his favorite blue bow tie, put his glasses on, put in his hearing aids, comb his hair to the side, take the bed sheet and fold it like perfectly, like a hotel bed sheet right around his waist. He's lying there in bed because he's about to see everybody for the last time. And I go downstairs and I wait in a room with my siblings. I have 4 siblings, 3 older sisters and a younger brother. And the MAID physician shows up and she's a really kind lady. She's there with an assistant and she goes upstairs because she has to go through his final consent form. They close the door. My aunt lives in a fairly big house and it's like kind of an old antique kind of house. So like even when the doors are all quiet and it's a pretty big house, you can kind of still hear everything. And I'm in the room with my siblings and I'm like, I want to like try to go listen. And so I go up the stairs and I sit on the stairs and the banister's here, like the railing, and then the door is right there to the bedroom where he's consenting. And my siblings all notice and one by one they come and the 5 of us sit on the stairs quietly, so sad inside, listening to our dad consent to his death. And then the doctor comes out and the personal support worker comes out and the PSW says he wants to see each one of his kids one by one. So we each take turns going into the room. Then he has a couple minutes with his wife. And then he asked to be left alone for a couple of minutes. And then the doctor says it's time. We go in the room, he's lying on the bed. His wife's sitting beside him sitting beside the bed. I'm holding her hand. He has a twin brother, 76-year-old twin brothers. He's his twin brother standing right here. I'm reaching around, my uncle holding one of my siblings' hands. My sisters are there, my brother, a couple of their partners are there. 2 of my dad's sisters are in the room. He says his final words. The doctor says, "Are you ready?" He says, "Yes." They're just these big syringes lying there that it looks like glue. It takes about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. He takes his last breath. And he's gone. And I weep into my dad's wife's shoulder so hard, like so much sadness and I just like my whole body just like felt like it was gonna fall out of itself. And there was like this energy in the room. It wasn't tension. It was just like so pure. And I just like to cut it like no one was saying anything. And so I just yelled out. I'm just like, thank you all so much for supporting him in this decision to do MAID. Thank you so much. And then we all hug and we kiss and we cry and the room empties out. And he's lying there. And I sit down, and the only 2 people in the room are myself and his twin brother sitting on the other side of the bed. And I sit there, and I look at him, and I'm like, I had this profound thought. Of all life's milestones, death is going to happen. In a Jewish life, it's birth, your circumcision, your bris, your bar mitzvah. Some people are confirmed, your wedding, you become a parent, you might become a grandparent, and you die. I just witnessed my dad's final milestone. He experienced it in the most beautiful way possible, peacefully, surrounded by his family and just love. And I didn't feel any of those feelings I felt in the cemetery. I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel worried. I had a profoundly overwhelming feeling of pure happiness for him and the situation. The day my dad died was the happiest day of my life. Thank you.